Okay, well, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our TID board meeting, our Tax Increment Development District meeting, also to be followed by our work session of Las Cruces City Council. Today is Monday, May 11th, 2020. It's approximately 1 p.m. Before we begin our meeting, if you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now I believe we have our pay of the week, so Jennifer Martinez from our communications office will be introducing our pen.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to take the time to introduce you to a nice little feline. See if I can find him here on the screen. All right. Are you able to see him?
Yep, there he is.
Okay. This is David Meowie. David Meowie is a sensational feline. He wakes you up in the morning to pitch perfect meowing. He is interesting and he is entertaining, just like his namesake. And you can adopt him today and bring home your personal rock star. The hours of operation at the Animal Service Center are Monday through Friday, noon to 6 p.m., Saturday and Sunday, noon to 5 p.m. You will be asked to make an appointment for those hours, though. 382-0018 is the phone number. Right now, all off-site adoption events are canceled. There are some limitations at the Animal Service Center that we've brought to you before. There are free adoptions. You can go online to ascmv.org/adoptions, and that is because of limited staff. Animal control is bringing only emergency cases to the shelter, only accepting sick or injured owner-surrendered animals, and only taking emergency health appointments from those adopted or fostered animals. If you see any ordinance violations, you are asked to call in the following information: the location, the type of offense, the description of the animal, and then, of course, leave your name, number, and email, and the place you're going to call is Central Dispatch. That number is a non-emergency number. The number is 526-0795. You will be asked to use option number 6. While I have your attention, the communications office would like to also remind you about some information that we have also linked on our website. If you go to our website right now, COVID-19LasCruces.com, you'll find some information about COVID-19 in New Mexico. Like currently, as of yesterday's reporting, there are over 4,800 COVID-19 positive tests. That it's again of yesterday. There are more females that have tested positive than men, 2,563 to 2,176 men. Overall, there have been over 100,000 tests taken. There are 200 deaths related to COVID-19 as of yesterday, and 5 counties have more than 200 positive tests currently. If you want to see all that information, it is brought to you by the New Mexico Department of Health COVID-19 Public Dashboard. Again, we have a link to that at COVID-19LasCruces.com. Mayor?
Okay, well, thank you, Jennifer. Thank you for sharing that information with us. Okay, so we have a couple items, action items that we need to discuss regarding our TID board. And the first one is going to be approval of the minutes from January 28th, 2020. So I'll need a motion in a second.
Move to approve.
Second, Cassandra.
Okay, motion made by board member Flores, second by Vice Chair Gandara. Christine?
This is on the motion to approve the minutes from the January 28th, 2020 TID board meeting. Board member Abeda Stuvi?
Yes.
Board member Vasquez?
Yes.
Board member Bencomo?
Yes.
Board member Sorg?
Yes.
Board member Flores?
Yes.
Board member Gandara?
Yes.
Chair?
Yes. Okay, item 2.2, resolution 20-002. Need a motion in a second, please.
So moved. Second, Tessa.
Okay, sounds like a motion made by Board Member Bencomo, second by Board Member Beta Stuvi. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, so I believe Leanne Demouche will be discussing, or maybe Will Blanchard.
Mayor, this is Leanne Demouche. Actually, Mr. Blanchard will be giving the presentation today, sir.
Oh, okay, good.
Good afternoon, William Blanchard, budget analyst. Can everyone see my PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay, the resolution before you is to accept the TID fiscal year 2021 budget. The TID is composed of three funds. There's Fund 2815, TID dedicated revenues, which records the gross receipts and the property taxes, which fund the TID. Fund 4270, which is a TID projects capital fund, which is funded by 2815 and the city's general fund. And Fund 4271, which is the TID street bond projects, which are tied to the 2015 sponge bond for TID plan projects.
That catches a lot of people off guard there, William. So
Yeah.
worries. You'll eventually see SpongeBob one of these days.
Yeah. Here's the summary of the TID funds. We will get into the expenditures in some later slides, but I do want to highlight the revenue and the transfers. The revenue is down because the TID is no longer receiving the state shared portion of the gross receipts tax, and the transfer is a repayment of the loan that the TID took out from the city and whenever the TID was formed, and this transfer is going to be recurring for the next 4 years. Here are the expenditures in Fund 2815. I do want to highlight the $100,000 for the parking enforcement. This is going to help educate the public on the timed 2-hour parking with the ultimate goal to increase foot traffic and encourage turnover in shops. The capital projects for fiscal year 21 are the Campo Street design and reconstruction and the redesign and rebuild of parking lot 7 and the bathrooms downtown. Fund 4271 doesn't have anything budgeted in it. They are in the process of determining which projects we want to fund from that fund. And with that, here are your board options. I will stand for questions, and I do have representatives from Economic Development and Public Works available for any other questions you might have.
Well, thank you very much, William. This is your first time making a presentation to the TID board, correct?
It is.
Yeah, great. We did a great job. Thank you. Okay, so questions. Let's see. Board Member Beta Stuvi, Board Member Vasquez, Board Member Beta Stuvi.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for the presentation. Could I have a bit more of an explanation for the $100,000 for the parking education on how that will be implemented and a little bit more of a breakdown on those costs, please?
I will have to defer that to Miss Mandy Gus. Mandy?
Hello all, this is Mandy Gus with the Economic Development Department. The parking enforcement as part of our plan in downtown was
Thank you, Mr. Blanchard. Nice to see you, and thanks for the presentation. I'm wondering if we can get like a narrative description of what this budget represents for the downtown in terms of the TID, the future of the downtown, with the state revenues now being essentially not part of the TID, it'd be helpful to get a narrative of how these funds fit into the vision of downtown development and where we see the TID perhaps going in a few years. How long do we expect to keep the TID? What does this budget year represent for the evolution of the TID and the evolution of downtown? If there's somebody on staff that could comment on that, I think that'd be appreciated to give a kind of just a bird's eye view of where we're at.
Mandy, do you know when it's supposed to sunset?
Yes, Mayor Council Vasquez, we are working, it's a 25-year TID, and I believe it started in 2009. So we are almost to the halfway point. In our state, when we have a state portion of the revenues or of the GRT, we had major projects which were all completed. Now there are new projects that we're looking at. Each of them, I think, are projects that we see as a need and that we've taken to the TID board to be approved. With the decrease because of the no longer receiving the state shared portion, I think we're seeing that we're not able to get projects done as big projects as quickly, and so it's changed kind of the scope of work that we're able to do each year. But we do still have projects that we're moving forward on.
Thank you, Mandy. A couple of questions on that. One is, what are some of the highlights of the projects the TID could complete maybe over the next several years? And then thinking about the Amador Hotel redevelopment, considering we're I don't know, we have what, 12, 13 years left of the TID. One, is the Amador project TID eligible? And two, as staff, would you recommend a strategy perhaps as we're looking to the redevelopment of the Amador Hotel with 12 or 13 years left on this TID? Could that be a sustainable funding source for what the Amador Hotel needs over that time?
Mayor, Councilor Vasquez, we do have the Amador Hotel is one of the projects that the TID board has identified as a priority project. At this point in time, we have not used TID funding for it because we've had capital outlay. And I think that is a discussion that would be up to the TID board and city council if they thought that it was appropriate to move in that direction.
Thank you, Mandy. My other question was maybe some highlights for upcoming TID projects that you see being completed over the next several years.
And we'll actually get into that in a later agenda item when I'll give you an update on the projects that we're currently working on.
Okay, sure, no problem. This is a good point to bring up just in consideration of our last decision regarding the funding for the Amador Hotel. Did receive an update from Heather Pollard with the Amador Hotel Foundation. Understand that there's a lot of synergy behind the restoration of that particular property, and ultimately want to see it succeed, right? Want to see it be successful. And so understanding what our limitations are, what our availability of funds are in the future, considering we're probably not going to get capital outlay money for these kinds of projects over the next 2 or 3 years, in terms of the economic situation that the state finds itself in. Would love to explore TID funding as an opportunity for us to continue working on the Amador Hotel. I know it's maybe a prolonged process if we do that, given the amounts that the TID might be able to provide, but that, coupled with a private fundraising opportunity, might be a solution for us in the future. So, obviously this budget is spoken for, but just want us to keep thinking of that in the future in terms of how the city contributes to that project. So, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mandy.
Thank you. Board member, Vice Chair Gandara.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, William and Mandy, for your presentation. Appreciate the questions that board members Abitastuvi and Vasquez asked. I am hoping, I I also appreciate Mandy the update in terms of sort of a lot of the stuff has been put in motion over a considerable amount of time. I think I want the board to know that Mandy and I and the economic development team meet once a month to discuss any downtown issues, concerns, sort of where we're at with, we have the downtown parking committee. So I'm stating this because I think it's important that there are a few groups that in terms of connecting the dots that are meeting and basically giving us guidance in terms of sort of what priorities should be, what are the concerns, and just a reminder, we passed a resolution around the parking, the 2-hour limit, and why we did it, and the concerns about parking overall. We've hired a consultant to look at parking in general, and it's been pretty interesting because the business people that participate in the downtown parking committee really believe that parking is a big issue. Our information thus far, the research that we've done is that we haven't even met capacity yet, but because we continue to get new businesses in and whatnot, I think it will definitely affect sort of these priorities and why the restrooms have been a priority and why the two-way conversion was something that we were supposed to, be working on, and now that it's complete. So I wanted to say that out loud, in that you all, to include me, got a few emails from Heather and their board about their, sort of their concerns. They were pretty upset and frustrated. And I'm saying this to make a point that a lot of these things have been put in motion, and over time, the support has been there from council. This Amador property is a property that is owned by the city, and although to a degree I appreciate the foundation raising the money that they did, because back in that time frame, that was an agreement, I think, that was made with staff and the foundation and previous city managers. And so I think I would like to continue to look at and explore if the TID funding could be a source of revenue for the foundation. But I think we need to look very, very closely, for the hotel, and look closely at whether it's fair to ask the foundation to just sort of change their scope, because that's not been something I think they're happy to continue to provide advice and whatnot, and I think they have a plan of action in place to really eliminate some of the just because of the expertise that they have in that board. So I just wanted to give you a bit of an update on that and use this platform to be able to do so. We have some ideas of encouraging a virtual tour of the Amador, using the history, updating their website. I think all of those things are really important as part of this conversation for you all to be aware of. And then lastly, William, could you go back to the slide where you have talked about the TID, the GRT that has been generated? Okay. So currently this funding, the balances and the transfers are specifically for the priorities that we set for us, which is the restroom. Getting some.
Join the meeting.
Excuse me, Vice Chair Gondeta, I think we had some background noise back there. I think it may have stopped. Go ahead again.
I lost my train of thought. Just about basically the money
About funding.
spoken for, and for those priorities that you have listed, we have the money in the bank basically to continue with those projects.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, and even after those projects are done, what is the money that we have available after that?
William, I think you're muted.
My apologies.
Okay.
The money left over would be the ending balances, less about $2.5 million that we're still going to transfer to pay back the loan from the city. So that would be about $1,300,000.
Okay, give or take. So good. I have so much respect for people who can do the math in their head. So thank you. Okay, all right. And so now is your conversations with economic development about future GRT, given that we no longer are receiving the state portion, and what the possibility of future funding might look like, even with COVID?
I have not had those conversations, but maybe Leanne has.
Okay, thank you, William.
This is Leanne. I ran down the Will's office, but we are still working, as you know, even with the general fund. We're still working with the state to see what these numbers are going to look like. Once we get the business activity month for March, which should be coming in on this Friday, we will have a much better idea of what our GRT is going to look like for, hopefully for at least the next 6 months. That is what Francisco, Dr. Prius and I have been working on that. So, and that would include the TID revenue as well, because it's the same GRT as the rest of the city as well.
So thank you, Leanne. So at any time, I guess I'm concerned if we start these projects, then don't have the money to pay off the bond or would we stop those projects, or do we have enough to continue on?
So Councillor Gondeta, and I'll ask Mandy Gus to sort of back me up. There's actually, because we use sponge bonds, okay? So what that means is the city went out on behalf of the TID, and the TID actually had the money to pay the bond off, but since the city had to go out, for the TID to get the bond, that's why it's a sponge. We absorb, we get the bond and then we, squeeze it and we pay it off in one day, and we pay 1 day of interest. So actually the TID has no debt on it right now. So the TID is good.
Good. That's good to hear.
Right. So the ending balance that you see minus what the transfer that, the board approved a few months ago, all of that is, what the 1.3 plus hopefully every year we'll get, some revenue that, of course, it doesn't have the state shared in it, but that revenue will continue. And hopefully as in all things, our economic development department is doing a fantastic job even during this COVID. And so as our city grows and as the downtown, comes back on and is vibrant, I expect that GRT to even go up. Even though we don't have the state shared anymore, because we have a lot of great activities in the downtown area that is supported, by this TID.
Okay, very good.
Answers your question.
It does. Yeah, no. I just wanted to be sure and giving you some scenarios. I know that you're discussing and sort of projecting with the COVID what the next steps are, what that GRT might look like and I'm wondering, once you know better on Friday, then I would imagine that you can continue the talks about how we're going to try to help our businesses downtown. And that could be with sort of the microloans or that programming that we did talk about, that it looks at our economic development PRC, which will be presented to the attorneys in hopes that moves forward and is approved by council.
And Mayor, Council Gondeta, hopefully when our GRT does come in on this Friday, the Treasury and I are keeping our fingers crossed. That following Monday, we bring the city budget to you, and I'm hoping to have some updated numbers for you on Monday, ma'am.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you, Leanne. Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate the opportunity.
Sure. Thank you, Vice Chair. Before I get to Board Member Sword, David Maestas, I have to tell you, I think I messed up here. I probably didn't reach out to our county commissioner. I think it's Shannon Reynolds, who's our ex officio member of the county. Because I know this is your first TID board, I believe. But can you, as a little reminder for me, next time we have this, I need to find out who that is, if they kept it the same as Commissioner Reynolds, and invite them to this, because they're allowed to participate. They can't vote, but and for board member Beta Stuvi and board member Ben Como, the reason why we allow the county as an ex officio member is because about 10 years ago, they actually allowed a certain portion of their revenues that they receive from property taxes to be used to be put back into this TID, which I have to tell you, we were really happy, of course, and surprised, because that's, it's a fair chunk of money, and they didn't have to do that. And so we always extended this opportunity for them to be ex officio members. Okay, Board Member Sword.
So quick. Long conversation we're having here. I also was concerned about the treatment that we're giving to the Amador Hotel. Could you go to slide 4, Amandy? So this is what we're spending the money on presently, right?
Yes, that is part of what we're spending the money on. We're also spending the money on B's as well, the Campo Street and the parking lot 7.
You call those B's?
What's that?
Did you call them B's?
No, that was, you probably just heard something different, Councilor Sorg. It sounded like bees. He said these.
Oh, these. Okay.
I'm sorry, sir.
And these laptops are not the best in the world. So we have over $1 million sitting in the bank, though, don't we? That's not spoken for, not approved to be spent on anything, right?
That is correct.
Okay, good. Here's what I'm thinking. Tell me why. I'm sure you thought of it, but tell me why we couldn't take a small bond, sell a bond through the New Mexico Finance Authority, perhaps, to get funding right away to do the renovation of the Amador Hotel and buy the future TID revenues.
So I'm going to get back to Leanne Demouche.
Mayor, Councilor Sorg, or Board Member Sorg, I need to probably work with our treasurer, Karen Byram, to see if we possibly can do that. I know that we were doing those on the sponge bonds, and we actually she and I were having this conversation on Friday. We're not quite sure. We think that there's a little bit, and maybe Mandy might know this as well, Mandy Gus, there's a little bit of, so the state statute that actually formed the TID along with our ordinance, it said that we could go out for bonding for, I want to say around $8 million. The mayor may remember better than me.
I remember.
Yeah, so I don't really know. We need to go in there and double check that, but I don't think that we're not quite at that 8 million. So we may have a little bit of cushion in there to be able to go out and do some more bonding, Councilor Sorg. So
Yeah, as I recall, that was for some of the street work that we bonded the state shared GRT. Yeah. But so there's a limit on what we can bond on this TID then. Is that what you're saying?
My understanding, Councilor Sorg, is on the TID, yes, sir. But I need to double check that and look into it with our treasurer, Karen Byram. And so I'll have to get back with you with that information.
Okay. Okay, that would be greatly appreciated. Thank you so much.
And maybe Mandy, I don't know if Ms. Gus has any additional information on that. But I know that the treasurer and I last week on Thursday and Friday, we were discussing that. Because one of the other things is you will notice on the presentation, let's see if I can go back for right here. So under 4271, which is the restricted fund, we're looking to see if this $397,000 and some change can actually be transferred to 4270, which has no restrictions put on it, sir. And so we're working to see if we might be able to transfer those funds to the non-restricted and be able to use those funds as well.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much. I
So
appreciate
we're looking into that. And I don't know if Mandy has anything to add to that or.
I'd love to hear from Ms. Gus.
If I can let David Maestas jump in real quick, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate that. And thank you, Councilor Sorg, for the question. One of the things that I was going to add to Leanne's discussion, Council might recall that a couple of weeks ago, we did bring forward that facilities bond to Council for authorization for funding specifically for the Amador. However,
Yes, I remember it. Yes.
Right, and there were several questions brought. So what we did was, based on the questions brought forward by Council, we recommended and Council approved that we would just hold off on that for now. So we still have the availability, and I don't recall the dollar amount. I believe it was $2 million. We still have the ability within that bond at some point to come back to Council for authorization for that amount as well. So that still has the availability for additional assistance with the Amador. That is also the reason that the email was sent from the foundation to outline, and that email outline was to answer some of the questions that Council had during our discussion. So with that, again, we still have the ability through that process for some participation and some funding for the Amador. Thank you.
Okay.
David, but I think, yeah, and Leanne, I don't remember the cap on that, but I think that amount, David, that my assist that we were talking about was on the bond cycling, which is I think a little bit different than this one.
Yeah.
I think, and so, but
it is.
But Board Member Sorg, I have to tell you, I think before Council would even entertain anything, we need to have in fact, kind of ahead of me here, I want to have a work session on just the Amador Hotel, whether we do it under the TID or whether we do it under the City Council, because we need to get this clarified, because I think 2 million is about the most, that's probably the largest appetite Council has. Anything beyond that, I don't know. We need to know what that 2 million is going to be used for, and if that's going to be the maximum amount. And then after that, we basically say, you know what, you guys, you're on your own, or maybe there's something else that they might be able to do for, a little bit more. I don't know, but I think one of the things that's important is to know exactly the big picture and how that $2 million is going to be utilized.
Yeah, that would be good to do too. I agree with that. I'm exploring different ways of financing and different sources of revenue for it, financing it. Okay, I've had enough. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And thank you, David and Mr. Lush and Gus and everybody.
You're welcome. Thank you.
See, Board Member Bencomo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, everyone. I just have a couple questions about the parking. That's not paid parking, right? It's just a limited time?
Yeah, not now, it's paid. I mean, not now, it's free right now, but in the future, if you recall, I don't know if you were on the board yet or not, but council voted to eventually have charge for paid parking.
I don't think so. I don't think I was on the board yet. So is that part of this this presentation today? I understood just timed parking, but it will eventually be paid parking?
It'll be those meters that you see in downtown, in El Paso, I mean, downtown El Paso. William, did you want to jump in on that? Is that what those are?
I'm going to have to defer that to Mandy.
Okay.
Chair and Board Member Bencomo, so the parking enforcement method that we're looking for is just timed parking at this point. We have a long-term study that's been done for parking, which recommends how to manage parking in a downtown. Phase 1 is time limited, phase 2 is paid, phase 3 would be the parking garage. That's actually in the process of being updated now, but for what we're looking at right now is an enforcement method to do time limited parking. For on-street parking, it would be 2-hour time limits.
Okay. What are the considerations for folks who work downtown?
So right now we have an RFP out for the enforcement method. So once we get that back, we'll know more on what options we'll have and what things we need to do. For right now, all of the public parking lots those are not going to be time limited. So all of the surface lots are completely free, no time limit. It is only the on-street parking that will be time limited.
Gotcha. Will the big buses outside of the courthouse get an exemption?
At this point, we have not made any determination on what exemptions would or would not be considered.
Okay, hope not. That's it. Those are all my questions. Thank you. Actually, no, I'm sorry. So will we be presented the enforcement plan at another TID meeting?
We will, yes, because it's gone to an RFP. So actually, I don't know if it'll come to TID. More likely, it will come to City Council to approve the agreement.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you, Mandy, and thank you, Board Member Bencomo. Which, something just to put in the back of your mind is, in light of today and the kind of the restarting up eventually of businesses, I wonder if we want to put that off on, for a little bit of a hold. I long for the day where we'll start having that problem again and having problems there, too many, not enough parking spaces downtown, but just something to think about. Okay, anything else on this issue, on this item? If not, Christine?
This is on the motion to approve Resolution 20-002. Board Member Abeyta-Stuvey?
Yes.
Board Member Vasquez?
Yes.
Board Member Bencomo?
Yes.
Board Member Sorg?
Yes.
Board Member Flores?
Yes.
Board Member Gandara?
Yes.
And Chair?
Yes. Okay, now we're going to move to discussion items. 3.1 is a financial update, and I believe Josh Stoffel will discuss.
Yes, good afternoon, Mayor and City Council. My name is Josh Stoffel. On behalf of the Finance Department of the City of Las Cruces, I would like to present the TID financials for the quarter ending March 31st, 2020. Starting off, we'll look at the operating balance sheet for TID operations. We see total cash of $3,908,000, receivables of $639, and an amount due from other governments of $55,000. So total assets amount to $3,964,000. All of this goes into the fund balance, so the fund balance is $3,964,000. Looking at our activities, we see a total revenue of $284,000 that was collected as of March. 400,000 of that came from gross receipts tax, and there was a negative amount in all other income, most likely an adjustment to the fair market value. We see total expenditures of $25,000, and then when we take into account the transfer out of this fund into the projects fund of $705,000, that leaves us a net change of $446,000. And so again, that affects our fund balance, leaving it at $3,964,000. We move on to the TID Projects Fund. Here we see cash of $747,000 and a restricted fund balance of $747,000. The activity for the TID Project Fund, we see total income of $26,000. That's coming from rental and investment income. There are no expenditures. And then when we take into account the transfer in of $705,000, that leaves us a net positive change of $731,000, leaving again the fund balance of $747,000. Moving on to the Street Bond Project Fund, we see total cash and investments of $945,000. So total assets of $945,000, and of course, restricted fund balance of the $945,000. Then looking at the activity in the Street Bond Project, we see again revenue of $22,000. That's coming from rental and investment income. Expenditures of $364,000, which is capital outlay. That left a net change of negative $341,000. And so again, our ending fund balance for the period is $945,000. And that will conclude my presentation unless there are any questions.
Thanks, Josh. Let's see if there's any questions. Board Member Sword.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me see here. This actually kind of comes from the last presentation also, and perhaps Mr. Schaffel isn't the one who can answer this. Is there any reason why we want to keep over $1 million in the balance there? Why wouldn't we want to spend it all on a project?
No, we don't have any projects to spend it on. Find us some and we'll spend it.
Oh, we just got done talking about the Amador Hotel.
Well, yeah, but we need a plan.
Okay.
Spend it on nothing.
So at some time, though, in the future, as soon as the plan was made, you know, maybe a couple of months, 3 months from now, that money's available then, right?
Possibly.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Was that David?
Yes, sir. This is David Dahlon. Mr. Chair, Board Member Sorg, you'll notice in the report that came in on the Amador Hotel from the foundation, we're doing the selective demolition now. That plan is under approval with Historic Preservation Division, and then we'll start that project using state capital outlay. But also alluded to with, not alluded to, but stated by the foundation in their letter is they can't really do the construction on the actual building until we have the historic significance report, which will probably be in the spring of 21. So that's why we don't need the money for the foundation. We have to have the demolition complete before they can finalize the historic structures report, the HSR, and then from that, we can develop the construction plans and remodel the building. But without that demolition and that historic structures report, we can't do much more to the Amador Hotel.
So in other words, this full next fiscal year, we aren't going to be able to do anything to the hotel.
Mr. Chairman, other than Board Member Sorg, other than demolition and completing the construction drawings to restore it, I don't believe so.
And we have money for that already, right?
Mr. Chairman, Councilor Sorg, yes, we have the money for the report and the demolition coming from capital outlay or other city resources.
Okay. Perhaps there's another use for that $1 million, though. Okay, we'll think about it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mm-hmm. And thanks, David Dollahan. David Maestas, did you have a comment, or I guess you put your hand down?
I did, Chair, Mr. Chair. David Dollahan covered what I was going to say.
Okay.
Thank you.
And Mandy, you have a comment? Mandy Gus?
Thank you, Chair, and Board Member Sword. Another project that we're going to talk about in the projects update is the reconstruction of Compost Street. And while right now we've budgeted for the first phase, which is plan and design, we don't have money budgeted for construction. I know one of the other board members mentioned knowing that we could complete the project, and it is likely that we would recommend moving into the next phase that it would be budgeted from the TID.
Thanks, Mandy. Okay, thanks, Josh, for the financial update. So now we're going to go to the TID projects update, and that'll be Mandy Gus.
All right, thank you. Let me see if I can share my screen. All right, are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Excellent, thank you. Okay. So I'm going to give an update on the current TID funded projects, and the first one is the design and construction of public restrooms and parking lot 7, and the second is the design and reconstruction of Compost Street. So the first project is the public restrooms in parking lot 7. We have brought, with thanks to Public Works, their help, they've brought on a consultant. We've done the preliminary 30% design, which includes some things that we had previously discussed, was a new dumpster enclosure, loading access to the Rio Grande Theater, moving the bathroom location so that it was closer to the walkway at La Placita, giving it better access. We've also talked about how to increase the lighting and safety in that parking lot. What we're hopeful to have is a 60% design for public input in June and a construction start in July. And the total project, we're looking at about $500,000. We did originally plan to start construction in May. We were pushed back a little bit as we all figured out how to meet with the consultants and then move forward with getting public input. So that has been delayed a little bit. Here is a map that shows the area that we're looking at. This is the parking lot that is on Water Street behind the Rio Grande Theater. And as you can see, some of the changes that have been considered are the ones that I mentioned earlier, the access to Rio Grande Theater here, as well as a new proposed dumpster location and the movement of the bathrooms from this location over closer to the walkway. We have had input from multiple departments internally, the Rio Grande Theater, public safety, solid waste, on how best to get these items completed. And next we'll be looking for public input. So that's where we are on the parking lot 7 and the public restrooms. Moving into our next project, which is Compost Street, we've put together a preliminary scope of work, which includes lighting, making it match with the active transportation plan, which includes things that make it walkable and make it really Compost Street is a connection from downtown to the Mesquite Historic District, all of which are included in the Arts and Cultural District boundary. We will need to do pavement reconstruction and probably utilities as well. We have talked to a couple of consultants and we're reviewing which one would be the best option. And after we have a consultant on board, the timeline will come from that final, once we know what that final scope of work looks like. The total project is estimated to be about $3 million. And so going back to one of the questions of Board Member Sword, is that likely we would like some of the money that we have on hand in 2815 to go towards the Compost Street redevelopment, so that we can get the whole project done in the next couple of years. But for the budget of this coming year, we only put in the first phase of design. And so just so we're clear, here's a map of the area that we're talking about. It is Compost Street between Picacho or Spruce, whichever it is, right at that, down to Amador Street. And so with that, I'll stand for questions on our current projects.
Thanks, Mandy. We have a Board Member Vasquez who'd like to comment, then Vice Chair Gondara.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mandy. Mandy, on the bathroom and parking lot project, do you have a breakdown of what the percentage is on the cost on the parking lot and the bathroom or the restrooms? I'm sorry, how that money is going to be spent?
Board Member Vasquez, I don't have that off the top of my head, but I can get it to you all.
Thank you. And this may be just my ignorance. I don't know how much the parking lot work is going to, what type of construction will be required for that, or if it's just restriping. But I know the existing restrooms, both the location and the type of restrooms, the facilities there probably leave a lot to be desired in terms of what we want our downtown to look like. But it seems like a pricey project for restrooms. And so I don't know if there's design of like the actual restroom facility and what that's going to look like that might help to just illuminate, where that money, how that money is going to be spent for $500,000.
And Board Member Vasquez, the other item that I think I failed to mention as we're building that restroom is we're hopeful to add some storage space for Parks and Rec to use as they maintain our downtown. It'll be easier for them to have their equipment in the area.
Okay, very good. I'm glad that includes that part as well. Is the $500,000 an estimate based on design, or has that already gone out to bid and been determined that that's going to be the final cost or price?
The $500,000 was an estimate very early estimate as we scoped out what this project would look like. As we get closer to the final design, the actual numbers will be more concrete.
If I may, Board Member Vasquez, looks like David Maestas would like to jump in real quick.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Board Member Vasquez. Along with the work within the parking lot, we're also going to be looking at lighting improvements. That area is very dark, and some of the concern, especially with the additional activity that had taken place before the public health emergency. We wanted to make sure that we had additional lighting in the area. So there's a little bit more to just a simple resurfacing on the parking lot. It could also mean some restructuring of the parking stalls themselves as well once we move that restroom further to the south. I hope that helps you get a clearer picture of the additional costs within the parking as well.
Thank you. It does. So Parks and Rec storage facility, resurfacing, lighting, new bathroom, relocation of the dumpster. That sounds good. I just wanted to make sure. It just seemed for a restroom facility and maybe some restriping on the parking lot, $500,000 seemed like a lot. I mean, for that you could get a pretty swanky house in like Cacho Hills. But so just thinking about using that much money just to build a restroom is a little bit of a sticker shock on that. But I trust that you guys have thought this out well, and I know that area definitely needs some improvement in terms of fitting in with the rest of our downtown improvements. So thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Board Member, Vice Chair Gondara.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mandy, for your work on this, your presentation. I I know in the many discussions that we've had and some of the comments I made earlier in the at least a couple of committees that you and I both sit on, lighting has been a huge issue. Safety has been a huge issue. There's a lot of dark spots in that back parking lot. And you especially, and police get a lot of concerns from constituents and actually the businesses, particularly about that restroom. And so I know that anytime you're going to move a restroom and you have to move piping and, you know, do all that is where the cost comes in. But I also want to remind folks that that parking lot was restriped. They, thanks to facilities, they have been actually pretty responsive. And Mandy, you guys have done a really good job of having everybody we need at these meetings to have the discussion and really understand, because businesses and people were complaining about the striping. It had been going some horizontal, some vertical, just there didn't make any sense. And so what I know about the many conversations that we have redoing that parking lot, there's a lot of cost to that. And so I know also the storage has been an issue. And so I really do agree that stuff has to be done, and we need to improve our parking lot and our lighting situation so that folks feel when they frequent the downtown and all the various activities, and when we resume those activities, they want to feel safe. Especially, and that dumpster is a weird one. It's interfering with so the loading, right? The loading dock, if you will. And are we moving the loading dock in the back? I know front loading parking, right, to unload and load, but what are we doing there with that particular piece?
So Board Member Gondana, we're actually going to make it so that there is a clear access to the Rio Grande Theater with a loading, so that a truck could come in and drop off the equipment as needed. And we're moving the dumpster so it'll be easier for them to get to as well, and building a new dumpster enclosure. There's also been a lot of an increase in the amount of solid waste in that area as we get new businesses. So we're looking at building it for growth.
Yep. Thank you. Thanks for mentioning that. I think that's one of the things that we've noticed is like the companies that are bringing alcohol and different things in, distribution companies, they're blocking off that parking lot in a lot of ways. And like the artists that have their art and whatnot are having great difficulty. So we say that a lot. Mandy, with this money, I know that we asked for capital outlay funding for video cameras, right? To help with the safety. And we didn't get it, I don't recall. And could we use funding to be able to do that in the downtown area? The placement of the video camera?
Board Member Gondana, at this time, that wasn't part of the scope of this project.
Board Member Gondana, I think you're thinking of Veterans Park. We had put in $300,000 for that, and that's what we didn't get that from the legislature. You may be thinking about that one.
I am thinking about that one, Mayor, but I thought in those smaller funding that anytime there was additional money, I thought that some of the video cameras for the downtown specifically were a part of that. And is it too late then for this scope of work to include that, or at least a different one? Because I think that's important as we are looking at this. So I would advocate for video cameras in that area to include the parking lot where Instacopy is as well. Those are all places that we continue to get complaints that parking lot there, it also is a mess, needs a lot of work. And so I'm just trying to, as we move through this, throw out suggestions that we all have batted around in these committee meetings. And I just want to remind us that those are things we're hearing pretty regularly, that parking lot needs to be fixed. That lighting, and not just the one behind the Rio Grande, but the one behind Instacopy. We know that in working with and hearing from our law enforcement officers, because they are a part of that ad hoc, that downtown parking meeting, no, not parking, the downtown meeting, that they're there at those meetings telling us that sure would be a huge help for them.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Vice Chair Gondara. Let me get to, looks like David Maestas and David, you want to, like,
Yes.
I thought the other David also was on Cedillo, but okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Vice Chair Gondara. One of the things that I had asked facility staff to work on some time ago to at least begin thinking about starting to prioritize each of the different parking lots that the city owns in downtown, so we can have a plan put together, much like we do CIP for our roadways, and make sure that we know which parking lots we have identified, how we want to start working on them. And what we can do is we can add video surveillance for each of these different parking lots. And then that way, as we move forward and they hit our prioritizations and we have funding available, we can start to make sure that we address the security issues that you're bringing up and have been brought up in different avenues. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Before I get to Board Member Vasquez, David, I have to tell you, I have, I don't know, 2 or 3 different types of cameras. And the one that I find that's actually really easy to use and very affordable is the Nest, N-E-S-T outdoor camera. You know, since we have our own internet there, it needs internet to run. You know, we just have to plug it in somewhere, and then you have access, whoever you want to have access to that camera. It's really good. You could go back 30 days, and it's very clear. It's really a good system, and it's only, like I said, a couple $100 just to buy the camera. So just something to throw out. I mean, I know that's different than what a lot of cities use, but you know, I have some that are solar that they work okay, but I like the Nest better. Anyways.
Thank you.
Yeah. Let's see here. Board Member Vasquez, I think, wanted to say, or did you?
I forgot to put my hand down.
Oh, you did? Oh, okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, well, I think that concludes our projects update. If there's nothing further, entertain a motion to adjourn. But before we do, I'm just going to say, after we adjourn, we're going to stay on the same channel, and we need about 5 minutes to convert over to our work session, so don't leave, okay? So if there's nothing further, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved by Yvonne.
Second.
Motion made by Board Member Flores, second by Board Member Vasquez. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, we're adjourned. It's 2:03 p.m. and we'll try to resume back at 2:08 p.m. for our work session.